Hey guys, welcome back to Seller Sessions. Again, we bring back Paul Harvey. Hello, Paul. How you doing?
Hey, Danny, good in yourself?
Yeah, all good. So we're going to do a follow-up on autoresponders on our previous show. Some interesting developments has been happening.
Yeah, the rumor mill has been going around. That's very interesting when it happens.
Cool. So we've got a few things that we want to cover here. Let's talk about the most recent. We won't name the company, but there was a blog post, wasn't there? And you pulled up a cached version. Do you want to just give us a bit of a top down on that?
So basically, is that this is one of the big companies that handle autoresponders for Amazon sellers. And basically, what it said is that Amazon's making a new rule where we can only send one email to customers or per customer, one email, no more. And that email must have everything: the shipping details, the shipping details, it's the ask for review, feedback, all that stuff. And it's in one email.
Yeah.
And when they posted that, all the other autoresponder companies can start getting loads and loads of PMs.
Okay, and so obviously this went round the web, didn't it? Basically, and then the post was taken down. So
Yeah.
have you heard any more on this in terms of follow-ups? I've seen some Facebook groups where people are still talking about it. Obviously, mainly what they're talking about is that it seems that the post was up on the site and now that it's disappeared. So do you know if there's been any momentum to get into the bottom of this at all?
Well, I think first of all, that company that posted it has been castrated by everyone for posting that.
Which is
And if you,
unfortunate because,
it is unfortunate, yeah.
go on, sorry.
But what's crazy about that is, first of all, look at it from their point of view. Why would they share and post that article? It's bad for business. So the thing is, I don't think there's any ill intent there. And also is that if my autoresponder company said we can only send one email now, I would say great. Then I want a huge, huge discount because while I pay full price, I'm getting a tenth of the service. So why would they share this if it's bad for policy? So people are saying now is that maybe they actually are right, but this is an upcoming policy change over the next few weeks or months, and maybe they just found out some inside information and let it go public too soon.
Yeah. Well, look, I've just dug out an email here just in my account, and a friend of mine have sent me over something. So I'm going to paraphrase. So it says Amazon clarifies rules on buyer emails not. In the blog post that has since been removed, another site related to Amazon is now allowing sellers to send one email to buyers, and that we must cram all communication, review requests, etc. into one email. Basically, this caused dismay and confusion among the community, and our phones and PMs have started to blow up. First, the clarification Amazon has made about the opt-out emails. Right now, we can't send unsolicited emails to buyers who have opted out unless it's urgent and the word important is in the subject line or in the email. For example, if a shipment is delayed, there is been a product mix-up, a product quality problem, or some similar issue, you can still send an email to buyers to let them know. In addition, if you send one unsolicited email manually to these buyers, so you might have to have emailed them about the delay or mix-up and then have a follow-up to make sure everything is okay now and neutrally asking for a product review. If buyers respond to you, you can continue to email them on the buyer's term. So the new clarification does not impact emails to buyers who have not opted out. Amazon still limits those to 5 maximum with a preference for 3 or less. Thus, you might send an email letting the buyer know the product is about to be delivered that day. You might send one later to see if they are happy and give them a way of contacting you if they are not. And then 3, ask for a product review. Okay, so obviously that's a lot different to what was out there. See, I think what happens is people are trying to be helpful by providing that information, and without the official call from Amazon, it leaves everyone scrambling because obviously these guys are running their own businesses and it can have big impacts. If you're running a software company and your sole source of income is to do this email follow-up, then it's going to have a big impact on your finances as well. But then obviously that becomes part of the risk that Amazon, working with Amazon and change, a bit like us as sellers, who don't say necessarily have a software company. I know that you're launching your tools soon, which is slightly different. But as sellers, we take the risk in terms of stock and providing to Amazon and having to deal with suspension and stuff. So what's your take on that?
Well, first of all, I mean, actually, last night I was talking to Steve Simonson, and I know you're going to have him on as a podcast sometime soon. And he's a huge, huge seller. I mean, I think he did 160 containers in January. So he's a really big seller, and he has a lot of contact in Amazon. And he says is that Amazon gets such a laugh about these rumors, and says when he goes to them and says to them, "Okay, guys, I've heard this and this and this," and the Amazon staff actually pack up laughing. I said, "They've never heard of half these things that have been fabricated and are now in the rumor mill."
Yeah.
So I find that quite interesting because we are so pedantic about what Amazon says, but sometimes even Amazon are not even reading the rumors and stuff.
Yeah.
And stuff like this is, in the grand scheme of things, I think this blog article that was erased, that will be the given norm within the next few months to weeks, 2 years even. I do see the Amazon going that way because, let's face it, over the past few years, we've lost more and more functionality with buyer messages.
Yeah. I mean, and you've obviously got the fatigue. We're seeing data just going off a cliff. I know that obviously there are big companies out there who would say email is the way forward and, you know, you're not doing it right and stuff like that. But I think overall the fatigue is well and truly kicked in, which brings us on to my next point. There was another post. It says about Amazon starting to include a prefix marketing on feedback request emails in the subject line. Has anyone seen it? Obviously, this has been a question that's been put out. I've not personally seen it. Have you seen it yourself?
No, I haven't. I've been looking around for it, and no one I know has seen it yet. But I think it's going to happen soon.
Yeah, I mean that could obviously come into play, but like you said, it's we're sitting outside of the ivory towers, aren't we? We're looking through the misty glass to wait for instruction, but obviously it could just be a rumor, or it could actually end up being fact further down the line. I wouldn't put it past Amazon to do that. It does make sense because the amount of abuse that takes place with messaging. So another thing that was quite interesting from our group the other day, one of our guys picked up on, is the reauthorization of your MWS. So when you're taking on the different services that you're using each year, it looks like you have to renew this. I've not had this issue myself, but our guys turned around and basically said is that he reauthorized his sequencing company, and then he had a big scream up on his hands because he had 200 plus emails of complaints because there was a delayed reaction to these emails being sent, the time they've ordered and consumed the products to the time they've just received those mails.
And it's crazy because these problems have been happening now for years. So all the big autoresponder companies, they pretty much, they're all over this and they react very quickly. But back in the days when there weren't that many autoresponder companies, I used to chart a few, and some of them were just terrible. The tech was horrible. And I remember one day, I think about 300 of my customers received about 30 emails each.
Yeah.
And they were not happy. And fair enough, I don't blame them. But these things do happen. And now with this new thing with Amazon API, we have to restart up the Amazon credentials that we will send. Yeah. We have to be careful and make sure you're ready to address the situation and react, because what you should do immediately is that when you revoke these things, see what happens. If they're going to start spamming customers, immediately cut off the connection.
Yeah.
And then contact the service provider and get things sorted, because I have heard of some cases in the past where people have received policy violations because of this.
Yeah, I mean, the problem you've got with this, the horse is already bolted. You know, if you do have a backlog like that and you do end up hitting, like with the case with our guy, I won't name him, but 200 customers, then yeah, I can imagine that's going to lead to a lot of drama, because at the end of the day, Amazon's not going to see it as their fault. The software provider, will just say it's a technical hitch and it's probably in their terms and conditions. They're not going to do anything. But what happens then in terms of if you do get suspended because you've utilized in good faith a third-party vendor,
Very true.
See how that pops out. But no one has solved this issue, which is, and that's your open rates. If people are not measuring what's being sent, what's not being sent, what goes onto the blacklist, like the long historic or the recent blacklist, then all you're going to have is Cook's numbers, because we discussed this in this first episode. So it's great having open rates, but they're all wrong. And it seems that no company can fix this. I mean, what's your take on this now? I mean I still use mailers. Yeah, I still use it, but I consider them absolutely useless for data. Yeah. I just think, well, no, I need to send these PDFs out because there's certain elements of products. I just send them out and I see the really shitty open rates anyway, no matter how I cook the titles. I've used different emojis. I've used action required, all of these kind of things. But you can't control the deliverability of the mails from the software end either. So this is not a diss on the software company. It's just what's happened is that we've got a chocolate ashtray in effect, haven't we? We've got a vehicle to do stuff which is turned into pretty much useless in terms of giving you open rate data.
Yeah. And right now, it feels like these autoresponder services is a waste of money that we just have to pay for every month. Because if you turn off those emails, if you're not sending any emails, and your customers want to complain, how do they complain? First thing they would do is leave a review. Whereas at least if you've emailed them, at least tried in the past, they can at least open up, they might never read it, but now you've opened up a communication channel, and that's really, really important. And Danny, what's quite funny is that when you discuss now the open rates, the people opting out and so on and so forth, and how wrong the data is, very few Amazon sellers are aware of that. And I think it's because people have just given up with autoresponders. They're now seen as a necessary evil and just a necessary expense for their business, but offer no real strength to the business.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's not a beatdown. I think what's happened is, like Amazon seems to move really quickly, and I think, autoresponders to a point is dead, especially if there is a limitation. Because you think about it, let's just say that you normally want to send one email only. That encourages people to go, well, no one opens them anyway. I might as well send them out 3 or 4 times, the same email, to see if anyone notices. Do you see what I mean? Because their argument's going to be, well, I'm paying for the amount of mails I sent. I'm not paying for the ones that didn't make it onto the blacklist, etc. It depends on the service, but I think you find quite a few of the services will based on the volume of emails that you're sending. If you send 1,000 a month, it's $20. If you're sending 10,000, it's a big number. If you're sending a large amount, then you can get a customized costings and deal direct with a software company. But ultimately, it's one of the key models. And I think what's happened is that models become outdated now because of the blacklist and Amazon changes. That means they need to maybe rethink the model, because if you're sending out, 100 emails, for instance, on a product, and 60 of them don't get delivered, you're left with 40 mails. And they say you've got a 10% open rate. The numbers are poor, aren't they, for the return on your investment? But that isn't saying that it's the fault of the software companies. It's just that when times move, it's time for the software companies to move as well. Do you see what I mean? And I'm sure that people are holding out because they may be developing software in the background, which is fair enough. But that's part of the risk business, isn't it, that we're all in, So in some cases, like for me before, it was like, there's no point in using a autoresponder company unless it's got open rates. But to be honest, you might as well just not use a company that does open rates and pick the cheapest platform, because what you get back in terms of reward is diminished, isn't it? So I think it goes back to that whole point again of we're going to have to rely much more on our inserts now.
And again, this is just a picture of the revolving landscape in Amazon.
Yeah.
When I first started selling on Amazon, using autoresponders was one of our most biggest strategies. We would spend weeks just split testing different types of emails, headlines, everything. And people were then doing, experts came out of the woodwork saying, I can help you with the email open rate, everything. And
Yeah.
it was a huge, huge strategy. And now it's just an afterthought.
Yeah. Well, I think the other thing is that, like, we're going back to what I said earlier on, is people don't measure. They just, like, they're told, right, you must do what email sequences.
Hmm.
It's like you must optimize your listing. Yeah, you must optimize your listing, but it's how you optimize and how you measure is really important. It's the same
Hmm.
with the mailers. It's like, the standard thing that's trotted out is like, you got to do 3, but then the other argument will be, I hate being marketed to, so therefore none or
Hmm.
one. Do you know what I mean? It's
Correct.
more opinion based rather than data driven. And I think, when, I've spoken to some of these companies and I'm like, why do you make it so difficult to show the blacklist? Like, I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, so I've sent that amount of emails to go one area. Then I'm looking in my Gmail account, which they're associated with because it puts them on the blacklist. Then I'll take that data there. Then I've got to take an order number and then I've got to put them all into a spreadsheet just to work this out. And I think it's what I call dark patterns. It's designed that way because they don't want to actually, some of these companies can actually, that measure this data, can actually put next to the column the amount of emails that's sent, the amount of emails that delivered, and what's on the blacklist, what isn't. They could realistically put that information in there. They choose not to.
Hmm.
That is an absolute choice. And I think it's because they're worried about unsubscribes. And I think it might go back to the previous company that posted the blog post, which is unfortunate because they're trying to help the community. Maybe they took it down, 1, because there hasn't been any official confirmation. 2, they didn't expect the amount of the post going viral, and possibly 3 is that they may have hemorrhaged on unsubscribes. So
Yeah.
they took the post down because it may have had a big impact on their business, because what they were trying to do was trying to do the right thing and be honest and upfront with people.
And that's a company that purely does Amazon emails, autoresponder. That's it. So basically, that's their whole business in a nutshell. And if they lose the ability to do that, they are out of business. And actually, that's that company. I spoke to one of the people that work there, and she's quite high up there. And I asked her, I said to her, and I think I mentioned this in the last call, I asked her, I said to her, how long do you think you will have a job for? And they said, it's like, yeah, that's actually is a concern, not just for that company itself, but for most of these companies that they know that the revolving landscape, they could lose their job or lose their business, their IP, very pretty much overnight.
Yeah. So what, if we were going to wrap it here, what would you suggest for people to do moving forward?
You know what I would say is that I would say stick with the autoresponders that have been around the longest. Again, as much as you and I go on about this, don't spend too much time on the Amazon autoresponder emails. Make sure you have a good idea what to do, a good design, and then just leave it and come back to it every few weeks and just see if that's actually working still.
Yeah, I mean, I know what you're saying there, but spending less time, and I agree that. But I think the key point is that the goal is to communicate with Amazon's customers, because they are their customers, in the right manner. Because a lot of the time it's not just people chasing reviews; it's working with complicated products where people go, "Well, that didn't work," and you're not got the option for a right to reply. You just have to swallow that negative review, because everyone's tried all different techniques of contacting them, and there's different plugins that have been removed from the marketplace. And as much as I'm not pushing them, but I think realistically, if you've got an insert that you open the box and the first thing that they see, the way it's packed in the factory, is the insert at the box glaring back with them. Yeah. Maybe do not throw this away. You will need this. Because it's just like a call to action like that may be what's the difference between getting a positive and a negative review.
I fully agree.
But so do you have a strategy at the moment for your inserts?
So my inserts, yes, and actually I'm changing it up recently because I heard from a good friend of mine, and her best strategy was to use inserts that ask them to please DM you on Instagram,
Right.
and that's what I'm changing up to.
Because that's in terms of service, yeah.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. And the thing is, I'm gonna find, I'll play with it a little bit and find like the most, how can I say, politically correct in way of asking the person to reach out to me in Amazon in terms of service. Not sure if I can, but I'm going to try. The reason being is that I've had good inserts in the past that sends them straight to my website, the whole warranty type thing. But the thing is, though, is that the people that reach out to you on Instagram or even Messenger, for that matter, those are the ones that actually are willing to take the extra step and actually get something free or leave a review or do the warranty or something like that. And those are the ones that I'm targeting now.
Well, I think we must be clear. We're talking about inserts here. The thing is, the return rate on, say, capturing a review or capturing a warranty is low. My point of it is that we're in a situation now, depending on the type of products that you select, there's going to be where you require lots of reviews, or you may not require lots of reviews. You might just need to get people comprehension of the product. And so what happens is you're not measuring on the basis of doing a free plus shipping or giveaway or tickling the review out of someone. You're utilizing it as a protective mechanism, as Correct. A customer service tool, which may be hard for you to measure, because if you've got an insert and it's very clear on the things that you want to get across about your product, you may not hear from them. And that might actually be a good thing. So that's the bit that you can't measure for.
Pretty much. I agree with that, because I mean, the same thing with inserts, with the emails. If you're not hearing anything from your customers, it's actually a good sign.
Yeah.
Because they are so quick to complain. So the thing is, you're not hearing anything, then you can kind of take solace knowing that you have a good quality product and there are not many defects.
Okay, so let's hold account to ourselves now. I'm going to predict a couple of things, and I'll probably get them wrong. And then I want you to predict some things as well. I think by the end of the year, either people will completely give up with email marketing in terms of like the sequences to Amazon customers, or it will get to the stage where when you factor in the amount of people who opt out, the local blacklist, the historic blacklist, the deliverability of the service, and the type of requests that you have in there, coupled with the type of, say, subject lines and stuff, you literally, it's going to fall on its ass, I think, personally. Yeah. And I'm not saying I'm great at the email marketing. I'm not saying that at all. But I've tested and tried loads of different things. And there might just be down to you factoring that it might be the products that I don't sell that works. But I'm just looking at across the board is that everyone I speak to, the common complaint is that no one's getting in these mails or opening them. If they're not opening them, well, you're just sending junk into the ether, really, aren't you?
It's so true, and I think that prediction will be spot on, and I'd pretty much be up there with you on that. In the sense, I don't see much use for the Amazon emails anymore. I really, really don't. I've just seen the gradual decline.
But the irony, Paul, is that we just carry on using them because they're already set up, and you're saying, sod it, I'll carry on blasting them out and see what happens. But what we're talking about really is the effectiveness of them.
I fully agree.
And so other than inserts and trying to stay within TOS, what else is there really that you can do? Because you're talking about open rates now, aren't you? If someone opens a box, to me, that's an open rate. If it sits on the top of the box and that person decides to read it, then you'll get close to 100% open rate. Whereas with an email, people will just, disregard them.
Yeah. I mean, I think the emails are probably still one of the although I won't say bashing it, but the negative about it. The emails are still one of the best ways to contact customers, and it's still within TOS. Yeah. It really is. Whereas if we're using inserts, if you're trying to download your Amazon order data and then make a Facebook audience, stuff like that. That's not really allowed. So it's annoying that that the Amazon emails is actually the most completely reliant on TOS,
Yeah.
and we're still losing that power. So
Yeah.
that's really annoying.
Well, another common theme as well is that you find is, we've tried different methods, haven't we?
Mm,
And even when you do follow up with a customer, I mean, even when you offer them a refund, you contact them and said, because they might say it doesn't work, and say, oh, could you explain a little bit more about what's happening? We want to fix this for you. We're happy to sort you out a refund, etc. I'm paraphrasing here.
hmm
They still don't respond. So they
No.
wanted to complain. They spent their money. They made their point. Yet they didn't want to. They can't be asked to respond to an email and get their money back.
hmm
So
I mean,
you know,
I've done what you have, and then even offered an Amazon voucher over and above the refund,
yeah,
and no reply. It's so frustrating.
exactly. So obviously, Amazon, the reason they're doing this, they're protecting their customers, and obviously there's sellers out there who are completely abusing the system, so they kind of ruin it for everyone else, And this is why you're always playing this game, aren't you? What's the next thing? So after inserts, I think what we need to find is what is the next thing. What is the
Yeah.
next step? Obviously, between all the different mastermind, the groups, and everything that we're involved in, these strategies will start to develop out. But it makes it very difficult because we've discussed before what's in TOS and what's outside of it. There's a lot of tricks with the free plus shipping and guiding people away from Amazon with the inserts and stuff. But ultimately, that catches up with you in a lot of trouble, and you've got to put all your stock and stuff like that. But
I mean, go ahead. Yeah. No, the way I see things going in the future is that I eventually see we're going to lose the power for email customers, and the inserts, that's going to fade away. Amazon will find a way around it. I'm sure they will.
Yeah.
I see those two things happening, and then I guess the only opportunity there is for Amazon sellers is to build your following on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all those channels, and then send the traffic to Amazon.
Yeah.
And as soon as you build up a good quality audience, it does make the game easier. But then now it's a tough one, because now the average Amazon seller has to be an expert marketer and a seller, which means that our daily things to do just increases exponentially.
Yeah. Totally. Okay. Well, look, let's leave that there. I think we've covered quite a lot today. How can people reach you?
So great. So the best place would be my Facebook group. It's FBA Renegades. That's the best place to find me.
Excellent. And if someone wants to contact you for consultancy, etc., have you got an email they can reach you on?
Yeah, sure. So it is paul@epsilonicommerce.com. It's a painful email address, but it's paul@epsilonicommerce.com. I'll put it up in the comments as well.
Excellent. We'll have it to the show notes. Okay, guys, thanks for joining us today. Take care.
Thank you.